every amount of pain there.
Something big, like a Star Wars or a Marvel.
Wouldn't have been good, but would have been like, okay.
No!
You are at the movies with the amazing Ace.
And the amazing Nate! Aaron Martin! Yeah!
Yeah. We went through the Raimi trilogy. We had a good time. Shout out to Johnny Von Hollywood for joining us, but it's just the two of us for this one because I don't know any other Amazing Spider-Man fans bigger than the two of us, to be honest. I'm ready to glaze. It's here, the Amazing Spider-Man. But you specifically, Nate, this was your Spider-Man.
This Amazing Spider-Man, the first one, it's my first Spider-Man movie ever. I saw it opening weekend, I think, in theaters. And, yeah, it was definitely, not a lot of people of our generation's first Spider-Man movie. But it was mine. And it shows.
Yeah, of course, not only did I grow up with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, I remember an early YouTube memory was looking up the fake Spider-Man 4 trailers and just kind of being desperate. I'm like, where's my next Spider-Man movie? And then...
And at the time, too, especially like that early YouTube circa like 2008, 2009, like it felt like another Spider-Man movie with those last three was like inevitable. Like they were so popular. The marketing and the media was so big. It's like they're not gonna not make it, right?
And I remember, I don't know if it was like an E! Entertainment video or something off of YouTube. And I remember they announced a Spider-Man reboot with Andrew Garfield from The Social Network. And I had two questions. I was like, what's a reboot? And who the fuck's Andrew Garfield? Because of course I have not seen The Social Network yet. And it was kind of the first time experiencing like a reboot because, yeah, we grew up like not really having that yet. I think this is the first time where there was a remake of a movie that I grew up with, and I'm only 12 years old at the time. Maybe even younger when the news broke, maybe even younger.
I remember the talks around the Nolan Batman movies being like they're bringing Batman back.
Yeah, you can count that.
Of, like,
yeah.
Theatrically released within our lifetime, like definitely. This definitely is probably the first. I feel like there was a window of about 3 years where that fourth one could have been made, and then like elements of them started to drop. Right, like studio doesn't want Sam Raimi to do it, at least not without a ton of their notes. He's not going to do it without their notes. Spider-Man 4 is not happening with Sam Raimi. Tobey Maguire feels like he's being typecasted. He doesn't necessarily want to stick around, but if a good director comes around, might. Eventually, he's moved on to doing Brothers, which is awful, and other bad movies. But, that's okay.
If you went on Wikipedia at the time, it literally said Spider-Man 4, 5, and 6. Like, there were literal articles. It felt official.
To a certain degree, with Sony and wanting to keep the licensing for the character, they're destined to make a movie every 8 years or so because it is such a valuable IP.
I think they have to, right? To keep the rights?
I think there's something within the clause. They have to make a movie every year.
That's crazy.
It used to be every 4 years. But that's why we got these stupid standalone villain movies, is because they're all within the universe of Spider-Man. And one thing that's kind of frustrating about Spider-Man, he's a great character. He's probably the most profitable standalone superhero of all time when it comes to movies specifically, but also comic sales.
Yeah.
His rogues gallery is so good. So as Sony started to need to develop all these movies, after the success of this movie, of Amazing Spider-Man, do you remember that next Comic-Con where they were like, there's going to be an Aunt May standalone movie.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be a Madam Web movie. There's going to be... and it was all the stuff that we ended up getting like 10 years later that is like not that great.
And then the Sony email leaks even like revealed how many more movies. Like they were really going all in on this, and they kind of have to, so they didn't fall into a situation where you're just relying on Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire. You got to make the brand bigger than the person that all these studios have now learned.
And I think this movie came out at the perfect time for me, personally, because I was already a fan of superhero movies. I was a big fan of what Batman was doing, specifically like the animated series. I was very familiar with Spider-Man through animated series as well and through comic books. I had never gotten around to watching the Sam Raimi ones and then it's like the same summer as Avengers and The Dark Knight Rises. This movie comes out. So it's like I'm there in my seat, like ready to take this all in. And it came at a perfect time. And honestly, for a somewhat edgy, like 13-year-old Nate, this was probably the best Spider-Man movie that could have been made. I literally was obsessed with this movie when it came out.
I had the most 2012 day seeing the Amazing Spider-Man. I remember I was at
hang on. I think I might have you beat here. I'm really excited to hear how 2012 your day was.
I was at the Verizon store, which was right up the road from the movie theater, and I got my first smartphone, which was a Droid. And like my phone turned on, like we just put in the battery. My buddy Mike's calling me, being like, "Oh, we gonna see a movie tonight?" Like immediately, like that was my first phone call on the phone, and I was like, "Oh, let's see Spider-Man," and like that was like, that can never happen again. You're getting a Droid, and you're going to see Amazing Spider-Man.
So I grew up in Central Ohio, of course. The smartphone was years away from me. Years away. I think at the time I had my home phone because my parents realized it was cheaper to get a fourth cell phone on the plan than it was.
My best friend Mike, shout out, had his home phone, didn't have a cell phone yet. I still have his number memorized.
I had a Motorola Razr flip phone that was our home phone, and if I was going out, because I was getting into teenage years, I was in middle school, I was doing like after school sports and stuff like that.
For emergencies.
So my parents wanted me to have a phone on me. I had the family home phone. And I've got that shit on me.
They did that with my sister. She had a pink Razr. Same brand, yeah.
I think my mom drops me and my best friend Trevor off at the skate park in this small town called downtown Delaware. Beautiful skate park. We were shredding it all morning, and our plan was we'll skate into town because the skate park's a little north of town, maybe a mile away. We'll skate into town. We'll go see a movie. We'll grab some lunch. We'll go back and see The Dark Knight Rises tonight because it was like Spider-Man and Dark Knight Rises were both in theaters. So it's like, yeah, we'll catch a Spider-Man matinee, grab some dinner, maybe go back to the park. So we were dropped off, and we had a full, like, 14 hours where no adults that we knew were wondering where we were. That was our whole plan for the day. And it was truly one of the best, like, summer days of my childhood. Yeah. I remember I brought a bunch of tools to the skate park as well, because my board was always falling apart. So I was always the guy who had tools, and I would fix other people's boards and stuff like that if they needed their trucks tightened or whatever. I remember it started raining halfway through the day, and I was smart enough to have my whole backpack because I had the toolbox with me.
Right.
And so I let Trevor borrow my Mountain Dew sweater, and he left it in the theater for Spider-Man. Oh. And I was like, dude, my Mountain Dew hoodie's my favorite. We'll come back for it. We're going to go see Batman. It'll still be there. And someone stole it. Someone stole my precious Mountain Dew classic logo neon yellow hoodie. If anyone knows where that hoodie is, let me know in the comments section below. I want that shit back. It's been 14 years and I miss it.
That guy watched Spider-Man, a franchise about being the bigger person, being the friendly neighbor, and like he steals a hoodie in the screening. That's fucked up.
He resonated with the guy who tosses the chocolate milk.
I'm only gonna say this because when I say this, people will know what I mean. You have that nostalgia critic generation. I don't actually know the guy's opinion on this movie that are really angry that like Peter Parker skateboarded and he looked cool, but I don't know, Nate. As two guys who grew up in this era, we both had skateboards. I don't think we were the coolest guys in the world.
No. I was the shortest male in my entire class. Do you think I wasn't like picked on and like a nerd or whatever? I was tiny, and I did like musical theater. Everyone hated me, but I did have a skateboard, and I was charming, and ladies loved me. So like, hey. This guy exists. I love this movie's depiction of Peter Parker. It is my favorite thing about both of these movies is I feel like that the writers understood to make people like Spider-Man, you have to first get them to like Peter Parker. And he has to go through some complex emotions for sure, especially when he's dealing with his powers and their repercussions. But at the end of the day, I fucking hated Tobey Maguire. His character, his performance, and Peter Parker. Like, that's not a likable person. He's an asshole for 3 movies straight and never gets his shit together.
It's so...
Peter Parker in this movie is like... He has more memories of his childhood with his parents being alive, which is more of a symptom, I think, of the time this movie was released.
Yeah.
But he's always coming off as like somebody who knows there's something else going on. And I think that's a great element to add to Peter Parker that isn't in the comics, but still keeps him feeling authentic.
Going through these movies as a 27-year-old now, because I found myself going back and relating to this Peter Parker way more than Tobey. Like, I saw more figments of how I acted, or how I would act if I had Spider-Man powers, like, at that age. And, you could say because we did go to high school in the 2010s that maybe we relate to that more, but I don't know. This movie also feels a little timeless to me. I think that's the beauty of this movie, where I feel like the Tobey movies are very Y2K, and these I think are a little more friendly to anybody.
I think there's definitely an element of early 2010s. I watched this movie with I rewatched this movie recently with my beautiful girlfriend Cameron, and she pointed out that this movie feels very Twilight coded, and I do think that that's on purpose.
Yeah,
I think not only with
it's
like
that
the color
it is
grading,
that vibe,
but that depiction of high school and like relationships. Our introduction to Peter Parker as he's breaking up a fight with like a bully dude who also looks like he's 35. Like, we still haven't broken away from everyone being in their 30s playing high schoolers.
I was about to say, Andrew Garfield's like legit 30 in this movie, I believe.
He plays younger better than Tobey does.
And looks 20.
At least. Yeah, he does look young. And yeah I don't know. I feel like the dialogue, though, is written very contemporary. Whereas there's always that touch with Sam Raimi that the writing always comes off like it's an homage to like 60s like Archie comics.
Going back to the Twilight thing, one of my notes was that everybody in this high school looked like they could be American Eagle, Abercrombie and Fitch models.
Oh, for sure. And I do get the critique for like the nostalgia critic generation of people that are ones who will say like, oh, why is like a hot like H&M guy playing Peter Parker? Like, the entire ensemble of this movie looks like they belong in a Sears catalog.
It's a big Hollywood movie, as Tommy Wiseau would say. Like, you gotta, that just happens. I don't want, you're not gonna have like, Jonah Hill playing Spider-Man.
That would be good though.
Remember in Ted 2 when they announced the next Superman, they say Jonah Hill. But I do like that Flash, Gwen. I just feel like they all have a little more depth to them compared to the Tobey movies, and that continues with the Tom Holland ones as well. I think as these movies go, they do a really good job at making the high school friends feel more alive and not just, plot devices. Like, here's the bully, here's the best friend, and here's the girlfriend.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes in this whole movie is, and it's pretty, like, late into it. It's like an hour in. It's after Andrew Garfield, Peter Parker, has literally dunked on Flash and broken the scoreboard, and then he gets a lecturing from Martin Sheen, who I think does a fantastic job as Uncle Ben.
Underrated Uncle Ben.
He's a little wordy. He's monologuing a little too much. He still feels like he's on West Wing.
When you have an obligation to do something, and then you have to do that.
But, without literally saying the words, with great power comes great responsibility, and then dying, he does just that in that sequence. And I really, really like the scene where Peter returns to school, and everyone kind of knows, like, something's up. And Flash comes up to him, and for the first time ever, isn't being a dickhead.
Yeah.
Isn't being a piece of shit.
I love that. That's my favorite scene.
Hey, like, Peter, like, I hope you're okay. And, like, Peter still is pissed at him, and it's like, it's a really, really good characterization moment where, like, even the bully has, a humanity to him, and that's definitely not the case in the Sam Raimi movies. Like, this movie drips of human emotion, and I do not feel any human emotion besides euphoria watching the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies.
And when he gets the powers, how do you feel overall? And I'm sure that in the sequel this will be talked about a lot more because it's way more apparent in the sequel. But how do you feel about Oscorp as kind of a character in this movie being really apparent throughout this, these two movies?
It's really odd that they chose to heavily focus on and feature Oscorp still without any
Yeah.
intentions of having, um, you know, having the Green Goblin as a villain,
No,
or
no,
even
yeah, I was about
having,
to say no Osborns in this movie.
yeah, there's no Harry Osborn in this movie, and there's no Norman Osborn in this movie, which I think is also like weird.
Yeah.
I really wish that we got to see Harry and Peter Parker, these versions of them's dynamic, because
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get into it with the next episode, but it's so rushed and so forced and so bad. But I do not hate the dynamic of Andrew Garfield and Dane DeHaan.
Their chemistry's so good.
They're literally, honestly, like, it's perfect casting, especially for that era, but we
Yeah.
didn't get enough screen time
Yep.
for it to be justified. This is how this works for me. If Peter Parker gets the fake internship thing by calling up his buddy Harry, and they're like hanging out, and he gives them the ID card to get in for the fake internship. Like, he's like, oh yeah, just mess around in my dad's lab. Gwen's giving a tour. It'll be fun. That would be awesome. But
Yeah.
because he's at boarding school and he's just not in this fucking movie, we were robbed of any, like, what these characters were like before Peter Parker was Spider-Man, which I think is the glue that holds that relationship together.
We do get Emma Stone as Gwen, and listen, I've glazed Emma Stone on various platforms everywhere. This was big for 2012, Ace. Gwen's this was great casting at the time, and perfect timing for both Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, but more Emma Stone, who's about to become one of the biggest actresses ever in just a couple of years after these movies as well.
And I think it works on so many levels. I mean,
Yeah.
at that time, she was coming off of things like Easy A, she was coming off of things like Superbad, coming off things like Zombieland. Like, she was already kind of there, like,
that's what I was thinking. Once I went through her filmography, I was like, damn, she didn't really need this, but I'm so glad she's here.
No, and it is, honestly, it's the best casting in this entire movie. It's the best character of both of these movies. And honestly, you ready for the hottest take award?
Yeah. Let's hear it.
This is the Mount Rushmore of performances in superhero movies, is what I'm trying to say. She is on that Mount Rushmore. I think
I could see it.
Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, is up there with probably Heath Ledger as the Joker, is up there with, this is probably a hot take for some, but I would say Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor in the first Superman.
Yeah.
Like, really just on that tier. I don't know who else could have played this role better.
Yeah.
I don't know how else you would shape Gwen Stacy into an interesting character, other than, like, oh, Peter Parker's first girlfriend who tragically dies, and he has to carry that guilt and weight as he's navigating his relationship with Mary Jane. Like, there's obviously a lot of weight in that character, but also it's not, like, a super developed character until, like, around the time this movie comes out is when you get the Gwenpool and the Spider-Gwen and all that stuff in the comics. And, like, for 40 years, this character was nothing but the pretty blonde girl at school who's also smart like Peter. And it's like, she brings so much of that energy to this role and is so charismatic. Crushes it. If one person wins this movie, it's her.
You completely forget about MJ, like, in this movie. I'm not even thinking about her. It's Gwen and Peter now. Like, that's my end game in this franchise, or I wish it was. Spoiler. She's so good. What do you think of Dr. Kirk Connors in here? Of course, he was hinted throughout the Raimi trilogy, but we never got the lizard, and they decided to pull the trigger in the reboot.
So I have two really interesting opinions about this character and this casting. I think the guy who does it, what's his name? It's like Rice Innes or something like that.
Usually I have the cast pulled up. I said amazing cast.
It's a pretty good cast. Yeah, Rife's in this. He's a
Yes.
pretty great actor, and I like him a lot in other things. He's great in Notting Hill. He's definitely like a good character actor. He brings that like intensity. You can tell he's got like that theater background. Like they
Yeah.
still were following the tradition of how important it was to have a great actor be a Spider-Man villain. My problem with him is he's morally too redeemable at the beginning and then just turns into a monster and that's it. It's not like
And
he doesn't want to do the human testing on himself, and they make that clear with like the really weird Indian guy character that they make a character for the first act and then don't. That guy's a meme. I like him.
It's such a
honestly, I wish he came back in the second one.
Yeah. It's such a it's such a grounded story, and then you get to Kirk Connors where his plot is literally, I want to turn New York City into lizard people.
His plot isn't that until the third act.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We're they almost landed the plane.
Yeah, like I really like him having the same kind of beliefs of what science can do for humanity, like the two good villains in the Sam Raimi movies. I like that angle that they do with it. It feels a lot more realistic and grounded in this, and like they're talking about like stem cell and mRNA research and all that kind of stuff, and how they're gonna pull this off and recover limbs.
Here we are, more than 15 years later. You got Rey Mysterio flipping around in a WWE ring because of stem cells, and he's still going, and it's been tremendous for athletes and stuff. So it was funny when he mentioned the stem cells. I'm like, that aged pretty well, actually.
Everything ties back to pro wrestling. You're like Mike from Red Letter Media,
with Star Trek,
pro wrestling instead of Star Trek.
I did almost bring up Star Wars as well. I almost just completed the cycle when you brought up the theatrical actors, because it reminds me a lot of, casting Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine. You want just somebody very theatrical, over the top almost for characters like this. You got to really bring them to life and have them bounce off of the comic book.
And I guess that's my problem with him is I wish that he was like 15% more over the top when he's just Kirk Connors. Like, I wish it was a bigger performance. He says everything so monotone, and it's so kind of, like, hard to follow, and it's like he's saying really important things and really good things, but he's talking at this timbre the entire time. And then once he's in the fucking costume/CGI fest, then he's, like, going hard. And I was like, if we got a little bit of that earlier and then a little less later, it would work perfectly for me. I do really like, though, my second take on this is I really, really, really like the design of Lizard.
Really?
I know it's maybe a hot take. I think it's a perfect look for that character from the comics. I wish maybe his mouth was a little bigger and his eyes were a little bigger, but
I wanted more lizard than human on the face, I think was my issue.
I get that. I really like that it does look like one of the Koopas from fucking the Super Mario Brothers movie. From the 90s. I like that his head looks like that. I don't know. It just feels like an homage to peak cinema to me. However, I do really like the scale of the lizard. Yeah. Like, it feels intimidating, but it's not like the Hulk intimidating. It's not like this is something that Spider-Man has no chance of beating as his first villain. And Lizard's the perfect character and the perfect villain to do that. Like, I think having the first Spider-Man movie ever be him versus the Green Goblin and the movie ends with Green Goblin dying is really silly. Yeah. That's like having Batman fight the Joker and then the Joker dies right away. Like
it's very dated.
In the chronology of Spider-Man, the Green Goblin does die pretty early in that timeline, but he does like a lot of shit. And he sets up a lot of things and creates a lot of entities that can harm Peter after death.
Like impregnating MJ.
Good shout.
He created an entity.
I understood that reference.
Sorry, it was just all going through my head.
No, you're good. In terms of like the chronology of Spider-Man Peter Parker as a character, is like his mythology. I think it's really, really important to note that Gwen Stacy leaves his life before, like, or before Norman Osborn does. Like,
Hmm.
in terms of his development as a character, he's already lost the biggest love before he loses his biggest villain, and then he
Right.
has his life after that.
Well, yeah, I think this movie was taking a better approach where we're gonna slow burn this. We're gonna develop Spider-Man, even though our Spider-Man's already 30, but we're gonna pump out these sequels in their mind. And
I mean, can you blame them? I feel like it's
no,
risky to cast anyone under 30 in anything. Like,
even
uh,
we're struggling with that now. Our new Ghost Rider is gonna be 50.
uh, and some change by the time that shit comes out.
Yeah, like that's just the world we live in, it seems, and
Wasn't
it's.
that a note that people had about the Ghost Rider movies when Nicolas Cage did them 20 years ago?
Oh yeah, because didn't Nicolas Cage wear like a really weird wig to be Johnny Blaze in like the flashbacks and stuff? Because he was already pretty old too.
It felt
That-
weird, like age inappropriate that he was with Ava Mendes in that movie. Shout out to Hitch.
Shout out to Ryan Gosling's wife. Very weird connection there as well. Will she just reprise the role?
That would be crazy.
That would be so
No.
funny.
They're gonna cast someone way younger.
Yeah.
They're gonna cast like Sydney Sweeney in that.
Even now, looking at this cast, I mean, Dennis Leary as Captain Stacy. You brought up Martin Sheen, Sally Field. I mean, these are some crazy actors to have in your
My
Spider-Man
goat Sally
movie.
Field is here.
What
It's interesting to kind of like age down Uncle Ben and Aunt May. Like, I like that they're old as shit in the Sam Raimi movies. I love that. But dude, Sally Field's on fire in these movies.
Yeah.
She's saying some of the dumbest lines of her entire career and selling it the entire time.
With-
like, she's
with-
doing great.
the Aunt May please go to bed scene still works. That's still a really good scene, and it's Andrew Garfield and Sally Field. You have two A-tier actors just going for it in this superhero movie. You don't get that now. Like, I hate to, like, we recently got it with the James Gunn Superman, but that was the first time in a while since they just let actors act in one of these big totem pole movies.
I mean, yeah, you bring up that movie, and the scene that sticks with me the most. Well, there's two scenes in Superman.
Mm.
Now, this is a tangent. Bear with me. There's two scenes in that movie that stand out to me the most. Of like, I've seen the movie one time in theaters, and it was over a year ago now. What sticks with me the most? I remember Pa Kent's monologue. A great performance from a character actor. Literally one of the best performances in a superhero movie as well. Not quite on the Mount Rushmore. We need more screen time, buddy. But a good performance.
We'll see you next summer.
Let's hope. And then we've got the other scene that stands out to me is fucking Lex Luthor playing Russian roulette with Superman's halal guy. And I'm like, as an actual New Yorker, I'm like, whoa. Anyone did that to my boy Ahmed, it's on sight. I'm breaking out of this glass and killing you, man. Yeah, those are the two best scenes of that movie, and I stand by that.
You brought up the New Yorker thing. Is there any New Yorker things that stand out to you in this movie? We've kind of brought it up every episode.
Yeah, no, it's a good theme, I think, to carry through these, because unfortunately, I feel like these movies get less and less New York as they go on.
Oh.
Like as Spider-Man, in terms of live action, as Spider-Man has devolved so far away from New York, I'm really... Yeah. I know you've seen it at this moment of recording, and I haven't yet. I'm hoping Brand New Day brings a little bit of that back.
They tried. They tried more than the last three, at least.
Right, and that's the vibe that I got from the marketing, because as a New Yorker here, they did the premiere here instead of in LA for the first time.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
In Marvel's history, to my knowledge, which was really, really cool. And then also, like last week, which one is it? One of the studios here, Silver Cup, which is in Long Island City, Queens, right by where I work. They put giant spider webs on the Silver Cup sign that you can see across from Manhattan, and everyone was joking about it on the like subreddits and Twitter of like, anyone know what these spider webs are about? They're like, maybe it's the gigantic movie that's coming out in 3 weeks, moron. Like,
The biggest movie of the summer.
yeah. I mean, we're on day 2, and it's made like $70 million already. It's gonna make the budget back in one weekend. I think that's the first time that's happened with a Marvel movie since Infinity War. That's crazy. Anyway, my question for you was, what are your thoughts on Dennis Leary and the commissioner, officer,
Captain, I think,
sergeant?
in this movie.
Captain.
Yeah. At least according
what
to
are your thoughts
Google.
on Captain Stacy?
I think he's essential if you're going to tell a story like this. You need some kind of parental authority getting into the way of Gwen and Peter. You need a reminder that these two 30-year-olds are playing people in high school. So I think he is essential for this. Or you kind of get lost in the plot. I like that Peter's got to like sneak up to her room after he's badly injured, and they have that nice moment, and the reveal on her porch in that, and she's going, "Oh, I'm in trouble." Like, stuff like that works because we know she's, the daughter of the police captain, and I love the debate at the table where at first it's very respectfully, and then the tension builds and builds. I think he works for this movie and will become a lingering figure in the next one as well, which I think we'll get into that. I think it's a little over the top, but for this movie, in this bubble of this one movie, I think it does work.
I really, really like it. It's actually one of my favorite things about this movie. I think not only the incorporation of like that character, but the way it's handled. I feel like a lot of times in superhero movies, when there's like the cop character, it goes one of two ways. They're either like questioning the superhero to the point in which they're still doing their job, but are on their side and want them to win. Like we get Commissioner Gordon now 2 interpretations in a row. I don't remember how Zack Snyder had Commissioner Gordon. I don't even remember who played him. Was it J.K. Simmons?
Yeah, and I think he just literally walked in and said, "I'm Commissioner Gordon," and left. Not verbatim, but that's what it felt like.
Yeah, I mean, that's the fact that I was able to remember it was J.K. Simmons is a fucking miracle.
Think he said more in the trailer than in the movie itself.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Gary Oldman and what's his name?
And before Gary Oldman,
Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon.
And before Gary Oldman, the kind of the police chief character would almost be like a bumbling idiot sometimes, like how Gordon was in the Burton movies and in the Schumacher movies.
For sure, and I like them being like a man on the inside for the hero, and that's one way you can make that happen. The other way is they are the most human threat to that character's livelihood and safety. And I really like that this movie splits that hair, because I get the opinion that Dennis Leary does not like Peter Parker. I get the opinion that Captain Stacy is not a fan of this weird chronically online guy. But
who uses Bing?
Yeah. Weird paid advertising.
Red flag.
No one was using Bing. No one was using Bing. That's like someone pulling up ChatGPT right now and not being like, you're not using Claude. Everyone knows Claude's better now. Come on. But I will say there was another, like, I really just, I feel like that dialogue and Dennis Leary delivering it feels so, like, earnest, and honestly feels like a police officer, more in, like, the way of, like, yeah, I still kind of hate this guy, but he's not a bad person. He's not deemed as, like, a villain or, like, a low-tier threat. He's just a character that the main character doesn't agree with on most things, but at the end of the day does the right thing. And honestly, it's one of my favorite depictions of an NYPD police officer in any fucking media, period. I don't think it's realistic, but it feels like what a cop should be. And I really do. I think it's one of the things that stands out in this movie. I also really, really like how all of the police cars in this movie are done. There's one scene that stands out in particular to me where the police pull up on Peter Parker when he first has his powers and he's in the Spider-Man suit for the first time, and he's still trying to track down the guy who killed Uncle Ben. One, the way they handle all of that in this movie is so much better than in the Sam Raimi movies. But I also like that he's coming into himself as a character of Spider-Man, where he's a guy in a suit who has all this confidence for the first time, and he's quippy, and he's like scaring the guy in the car and pinning him up against the wall, and then the cop just shows up and open fires on him, like, pretty quickly. Like, it's not even like a hesitate. And I really think that the way that they, especially in this time, they are still doing stop and frisk here. It's actually an accurate depiction of NYPD in New York City, which is very tasteful for, 2012 cinema?
Yeah. Oh, Mark Webb. You didn't just get this job for your last name, dude. Love the practical shooting, web shooting in this. The first person shot that they used all over the trailers and stuff. I get goosebumps thinking about it because I thought it was the coolest thing. What do you think of the suit? Before I go on this tangent,
I think the suit in this movie is the second best suit we have seen in a live action Spider-Man as of this week.
It's so.
I haven't seen the new one yet, so bear with me. But I love this suit. I love this suit. It's my second favorite.
It's so interesting because when I saw the movie, I didn't really think about the suit. Like, I remember thinking it was cool, but then I played the tie-in game. The tie-in game kind of sucks. Really looking at the suit when I played that whole game, I found myself liking it more and like noticing the details even in the video game, that in this PS3 video game, that I didn't really notice in the movie at first. Great sneaker game as well in the beginning of this movie. I believe he's got, I think it's red and white Air Jordans, but I don't think they ever showed the logo.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm not a shoe guy. I'm not a sneakerhead. But that does feel fitting for all interpretations of Spider-Man, regardless of its Peter Parker.
Especially if you're in high school.
Morales. Like, high schoolers wear Jordans. I never owned a pair because I wasn't cool and I didn't try to be. But
I feel like
high schoolers wear Jordans. I remember them being everywhere.
I feel like Jordans had a resurgence right after we graduated, though. Like, yeah, we had guys wear Jordans, but I feel like other shoes were just as popular. But now, like, Jordans is like skyrocket. I feel like that's the sneaker again.
Yeah, I don't really know. When I look at people's shoes here, I'm looking at so many different stories. I'm looking at so many different walks of life. And I've kind of been tainted by living in New York for so long, where like the fashion sense is actually, and this is one thing that none of these movies get right, but I don't blame them because it's not interesting. But most people are wearing like dark, solid colors. Like when I go out in my neon green shorts in the summer, it's hot. I stand out because I'm not wearing like black or denim. Like, people actually just dress to like blend in. And I feel like sneakers that stand out to me nowadays, I don't know. I don't think I see a lot of Jordans, but I could be wrong. I definitely am not.
People don't want to crest them anymore. That's the thing too, is the collectible.
Yeah.
It's now become now become like trading cards. Like that's the thing too.
People wouldn't walk in them here. That's the thing.
No.
Is you're walking like a mile a day. Like you're not putting on your favorite pair of Jordans. If anything, you're wearing like Adidas Dunks, like the Panda Dunks, and then you're walking around in those. And then you put the Jordans on a date night where you're Ubering everywhere.
Yeah, I remember a lot of negativity about this suit. I mean, so much so that they did change it in the sequel. And even though I do prefer the sequel suit, this one's cool. I think this is still a really solid Mark I suit.
It's incredible. I love the suit in this movie. I like the texture. I do think it's a little over the top for being his first time designing a suit in terms of like, it kind of has like the corporate military kind of texture to it, but I think that makes sense. Like if I was designing this suit, that's what I would want it to be, like materialized. Like I'd want it to be kind of a semi-metallic-y kind of color fiber, but like where the colors lay, I think are great. I think the spider logos may be a little too big, but I also hate when it's too small. So I'm glad that they went bigger than small.
I like that it isn't perfect either. Like this looks way more like a guy made this in his garage than anything we had in the Toby movies or even the animated stuff up until this point too.
Yeah, I really couldn't get into rating the suit compared to the animated stuff because for me it all kind of blends together. I remember
Yeah.
the ones that I really really like, but the ones that I kind of just are like, whatever. This is, you know, superior Spider-Man or whatever. I'm like, I don't like. I'm sorry. I know you were voiced by Drake Bell, but I don't remember.
Oh yeah, that was the one after Spectacular Spider-Man. Spectacular Spider-Man, I watched that in college and I loved it. I was like, this is such a good depiction of Spider-Man. I think there was only 2 seasons. There's always rumors of a revival, but I doubt it. I was just gonna say, what do you think of the battle sequences in that? We talked about the shots, but what about the action per se?
You know, I think the action in terms of the moving and the like kineticness feels a lot more tangible than what you would think a 2010 Spider-Man movie would look like. It feels a lot more practical. It feels a lot more grounded. And I
Yeah,
think Mark Webb's direction with that is really, really smart. I like that it doesn't go full CGI too often. Even like honestly, even less so than some of the Sam Raimi movies, which is surprising. Like
yeah,
there's a lot of times, especially in Spider-Man 3, where the characters just start looking like the PlayStation 3 graphics. Like I'm
yeah.
not gonna lie, and that's fine. I especially at the scale that that franchise has
Shine,
gotten up at
you
this
know,
point.
shiny new toy. They were excited to use it too, probably.
Exactly. And like
Yeah,
I like the restraint here where I mean obviously with the lizard you get a lot of questionable CG scenes, but the standout fight scene of this movie is when he attacks the school.
yeah.
Like that is
That
really cool and it's really like there's something about the imagery of all these kids fleeing from the school that is really resonant to someone our age.
yeah.
I just want to throw that out there. This movie does that and it looks good. It looks like there's a school shooter, but it's the lizard attacking Spider-Man, but you feel that like tightness in your chest like, "Oh, there's something really wrong happening here."
Yeah.
And then like one of the most fun like pro wrestling style just two fucking superpowered individuals duking it out fight scenes of the
It
decade is just
it's
in the
one
middle of this movie.
it's one of the most rewatchable scenes in the entire Spider-Man franchise is the fight at the school, I feel. And
Yeah.
the great Stan Lee cameo as well. Always loved the library
The
guy with
library
the
part is
headphones.
really fun. And I like Spider-Man going out of his way to catch all of the things that might hit Stan Lee. That's the best part of it.
Yeah. And then we have the final battle at Oscorp Tower, beam in the sky. It's 2012. That's just how it is at the end of superhero movies. That is definitely a gripe I have, but many superhero movies at this time was doing that.
Yeah, but I do really like the stuff that builds up to that. Like
Yeah.
after the school fight scene with the lizard and how he's I like the part where he totally like fakes out the cops and acts like he's all vulnerable and like he's like been hurt and then goes sicko mode and turns all the cops into lizards too. Like that part's really cool to me. Like I like the build up to where we get with that climax. I even like the Jurassic Park ripoff scene where he's in Oscorp trying to stop the thing and turning it into the space laser instead of the cure. And
Yeah.
and Gwen Stacy's in the little like locker. Like that scene's really well directed. I mean,
Mhm.
granted, if the creature design was like 5% better, it would be great. But you know,
What-
for what it is, like that scene works thematically. It doesn't entirely jump the shark to me until they get to the roof and you're seeing the giant space
The-
laser and Captain
the-
Stacy sacrificing himself.
The roof's got some beautiful shots though.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
All of it looks good in terms
Yeah.
of like a visual cinematic sense.
Do you
It's
like the New
just,
Yorkers helping him with the cranes on the way to the tower?
Yes.
Yeah.
I like all those union guys helping each other. Yeah, we got a radio down here. Is Marcus still on his lunch? Like that shit's great. I love that stuff. It's not quite as like the highs of the cable car sequence or the subway sequence in the Sam Raimi ones, but they're going for that same energy and they do it in a way that feels like Dennis Leary is their police captain.
It's the last time in this franchise they make the city a character. I think we really do lose that for future sequels, and you could I as cheesy as it is, I still like it. New York City is a very important part of Spider-Man. Like, and I'm I'm fine once in a while that he has to go to space or Europe or whatever. But he's always got to find a way back home. He's LeBron James.
I don't like him in Europe, but space is fine. I when he's in the Federation Force with the Fantastic Four, it's some of my favorite Spider-Man stuff.
Oh, my favorite
But
episodes of the '90s cartoon was whenever he went to space and teamed up with the Fantastic Four and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's really great parts of Spider-Man that have nothing to do with Earth, which is
Yeah.
surprising that the character's able to get out of New York like that. Honestly, and this is jumping ahead a little bit. It's one of the best things they do with Civil War, and what
Yeah.
they do with incorporating Peter Parker into that. It's so early in that character that it hurts. But it's
So,
like
yeah.
I actually liked seeing that character move out of New York. I just don't think they needed to do that for his first two movies as a standalone character.
It would have been so cool to watch this amazing Spider-Man grow, and then eventually he was the one that went to space and stuff. Like, I do really like Tom Holland in the role, but there is a part of me I'm like, what if the agreement was to just have Andrew come in? You could easily explain that he wasn't there for the first Battle of New York in the Avengers. They could have made it work. It's superhero shit. We could have found a way.
Yeah, I mean, all of that could have gone down before he lived there.
Yeah.
Like, or
I mean,
like before he got his powers. Like,
you
he was
could-
just a kid.
They could have time jumped it, and then Andrew Garfield could actually act his age, and then it'd be a more mature Peter with the Avengers than having a kid with the Avengers as well. Like I remember speculating like that all the time with my friends. Where what if we could get Andrew Garfield Spider-Man in the MCU, and this was pre-Civil War and everything, of course.
And I really think it was a possibility after this movie. Like,
Yeah.
knowing where, I mean, the Sony-Marvel relationship wasn't quite there yet, and honestly, the Avengers was kind of, I think, the first, like, fully Disney-produced and executed Marvel movie.
Yeah. Everything else was Paramount, I think.
Yeah, I know the Captain Americas and the Thor movie was...
And
think
the
it was,
first
like,
Avengers comes
and
out
Iron Man
like a month
3?
after this.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so those were the first ones that, like, Disney got in there and, did their thing. And I think even then, after that acquisition, they were like, well, if this Spider-Man's good, like, we could just yoink him over like we yoinked all these Paramount versions of characters over. Like, it really isn't a big stretch. However, I do think they dropped the ball with the follow-up to this movie, which I'm sure will be a little bit more negative than this review has been so far. But Ace, I have to ask you.
Yeah.
Let's get into the nitty-gritty. What really pisses you off about this movie? Why doesn't it maybe rank in that top 5 or top 3 Spider-Man movies for you?
I feel like they're juggling with things. It's 2012. The Dark Knight was just the biggest superhero movie of all time. And I remember the marketing for this being like, this is the Dark Spider-Man. And this is that. The first image, which I put in the in our main screen here, of him with the backpack, he's got blood on his chest. Like, that first image of him, I remember leaking online and being like, oh my god, we are getting something crazy in this. We're getting the Dark Knight of Spider-Man. Like, I'm about to see some shit. And we did not get that. We got another Spider-Man movie, which I really enjoyed and I could look back on better. And I think that's what gripes me. And maybe that's not the movie's fault. They were really trying to pander to that darkness that Zack Snyder tried to do for the next 5 years after this as well. It was kind of a whole subgenre problem. But there are parts of me that's like, can you commit to one thing or the other? 1 second we got Andrew Garfield and Sally Field putting on an incredible performance, and then the next minute is Dr. Connors making everybody lizard people. And I'm like, it's stuff like that I'm like, maybe like, oh, should they have committed and just done a dark and gritty Spider-Man? It would have been their one chance to do it.
That's so interesting, because I think my biggest gripes with this movie are that it feels like a byproduct of the Nolan Batman movies. in a negative way.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the things that they get right about this movie that Sam Raimi doesn't get right in the Spider-Man movies before this, they treat the characters like humans, and they're like more grounded. Like, it feels less like this camp fanfare celebration, and that alone works for me so well. But then the incorporation of like, well, Peter's parents might still be out there, and like the plane crash was a mystery, and then like
Yeah.
Folder, and then like he's out for blood to like avenge Uncle Ben, and he's slamming the glass door and it shatters everywhere. Like, I don't know, there's just like elements of this. The flashbacks to him as a kid feel so Batman Begins to me that
Yeah.
I'm like, they really, really, really tried to make Spider-Man Batman in this movie, and he's simply not that. The closest he gets to that, for me, is in Spider-Man 3, and I don't like it. So, why aren't we taking a step away from the angry, angsty side and just leaning into the teenage angst of this character where he's at in life?
That's true.
Like, I felt like the plot felt very like, we gotta do the beats of Dark Knight. Or we got to do the beats of Batman Begins here because it's an origin movie for, we're going to make a whole franchise out of this.
And I think my gripe is with it is then commit to it. Like, then give us, that Spider-Man. Don't go, don't go one way or the other way.
So grateful they didn't, because I would have hated this movie.
Looking at it now, looking on it now, it has aged way better that they didn't just embrace what was popular at the time.
It would be, I mean, I really feel like, and maybe this is where a lot of the love for the resurgence of Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man with like No Way Home and all of that. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like a lot of the love is people came back to this movie and realized it was better than what they were told or what they remembered from like 2012, which is great. I think like in another world, they tried to make this too angsty and too grounded, and it fits more in with like the Zack Snyder verse, but Spider-Man. And I'm really, really grateful that they kept one foot in and one foot out, if they were gonna lean into that stuff at all. Because like, I mean, what would be the Spider-Man villain to like make the first villain of the movie? Where you're who would he fight first? Like, if not a giant lizard. Like, if they didn't keep the giant lizard, mm-hmm. which almost feels like it was like a Sony note. Like, they're like, no, your first villain has to be the guy we set up for 3 movies, even though this is a different continuity. Like, they're like, no, it has to be him. Because I don't think Mark Webb's draft of this script was like, yeah, let me look down this giant Rolodex of awesome Spider-Man villains, and I'm gonna pick the Lizard, who's like in the bottom 12.
Yeah, if you went with the more grounded one, I guess you would have to go with somebody like Craven. Like, you would have to do something. You have to do a grounded character that's not really like a superhuman.
Yeah, or like, I mean, I guess they do that with the next franchise, but like, Vulture feels like one where he's kind of like a jobber who comes across the tech. He's not the guy who makes the tech, and he's like using those powers for evil. You can have a low level threat early on, for sure. But yeah, I'm glad that they went with like more of the over the top like comic booky shit for the villain still. I'm glad we got into the parts we didn't like, because I feel like the first 50 minutes of this was us glazing a movie that is honestly not that popularly received still to this day.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's refreshing though, because I feel like people praise Andrew Garfield in No Way Home, but I don't see a lot of praise for the movies themselves. And I do say movies because there might be a big hot take coming from me later on. My last note is and this did annoy me when I remembered. Connors is visited by the mysterious fedora guy, which it's just lazy sequel bait.
Oh, when he's in prison?
Yeah, I believe that's the end credits scene.
I think that's the end credits scene. Yeah, I actually accidentally skipped this on my most recent rewatch.
Also, not the greatest final swing when we talk about the final swings. There's worse ones, but this one isn't great.
Yeah, the final swing of this one is pretty mediocre. It's middle
I like the shot with his like knees up to his elbows and doing like the webbing with like the moon behind him. Like the last frame is great, but up until that, it's not very memorable.
I don't know. I feel like there was an element of this movie that didn't necessarily care about Spider-Man hitting like iconographic moments. You know what I'm saying? Like he
Yeah.
wasn't going. Mark Webb was not aiming for like we need to recreate this panel of the comic. We just want to get that vibe, and I think that really comes from where he was at as a director, where it's like he had a couple of like successful rom-coms up until this point. He hadn't done
Never
like, a
never
studio
directed action,
movie.
I think.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the closest he gets to the action sequence of this movie is like the dance sequence in 500 Days of Summer, which is a big jump to a movie that has like 4 major action set pieces and then like a lot of kinetic energy throughout. I think from a directing standpoint, someone who wasn't quite an auteur but was more of like a guy incorporated within a studio, it's one of the better directing efforts for a first timer. It's not quite like Ryan Coogler Black Panther, but it's definitely a lot better than I'm not blaming, like I'm not going to say their names, but like whatever the hacks who did Captain Marvel were. Like, it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Whoever just directed Supergirl, sorry, not the best either.
Goodbye career. I'm excited for your Blumhouse horror movie in 2 years though.
I knew this episode would be a glaze, but the movie's underrated. I think it deserved the glaze.
What do you think the proper cultural evaluation for this movie is? Because I think the thing that holds it down now is that it didn't get a full trilogy.
Yeah, it didn't get a third movie. And it's not the movie's fault.
Pretty solid movie, and I think like people should go back and watch that. Like if you've listened to this, if you're one of the I guess like 4 people or 800 Australians who watched the show, and you've made it to this point, and you haven't rewatched The Amazing Spider-Man since 2012, give it another rewatch, because like honestly, I think this one does deserve to be reevaluated to a certain degree. I think there's still faults, but like I would take this over about 80% of the MCU.
It's such a weird middle child, and I think that's why I enjoy listening to you talk about it, because you don't meet a lot of people who did grow up with this movie. I think a lot of people younger than us grew up, either their father or somebody showed them the Tobey Maguire movies, or they just went right into Tom Holland. This is just the weird, ugly stepchild of this franchise, and I don't think that's ever gonna change, unfortunately.
Yeah, it never got a ton of fanfare. Like I feel like this movie was popular, but in
people saw it, but it just didn't hit that zeitgeist, I feel.
And I think the zeitgeist it might have latched onto, I would be curious to see, this might be like a really fun segment if I have time in editing, to filter like letterboxed ratings between male and female, or like, male and other, like, just like, I feel like straight males do not really necessarily care about this movie that much, and then like the female queer demographic would probably put this higher than most other Spider-Man movies, only because Emma Stone is incredible in this movie.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, like I can't think of a better supporting role in a superhero movie than her character in this film. She's in the main action sequence. She's a huge thematic part throughout, and is the love interest of the main character, without coming off as a character that doesn't work without the lead. Like, you clearly believe that she's a fully capable and dependent, like, woman, in the same way that, like, we meet Gwen Stacy in the Sam Raimi movies, where she's already, like, a grad student and is, like, making press, she's, like, a media reporter in some scenes, but, like, she's a public figure, and, like, we could believe this version of that Gwen Stacy could get there without Peter Parker ever being in the movie.
I agree. The Gwen is definitely the star, like the standout of this movie. If we had to pick like an MVP of the movie, it's definitely her. Just sucks what happens in the sequel. That's a little tease of the next episode. I'm not a fan of what they did, but yeah, man.
I have a lot of opinions about the next movie, so stay tuned, because that episode's going to be interesting.
let us know what you think. Are there more of you out there? Are there Amazing Spider-Man fans? Let us know. Give your thoughts and opinions down below. This has been At the Movies with Ace and Martin.
Hey. We can't break a streak, Ace. What'd you give this on Letterboxd?
Oh, you're right. I'm so sorry. Let
No, it's
me
okay.
look at this live.
I need to know.
'Cause
I need to know where this ranks in your Spider-Man movies.
I didn't redo it now. Let's see what circa 5 years ago me said that, or whenever I made this account.
Oh yeah, and how long ago did you rewatch this? Because we've had a bit of a gap. You can tell by the length of my mustache. We've had a bit of a gap in recording.
It's about
Not
a week
crazy.
ago.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah,
I watched it like a month
6-7 days ago.
ago.
I gave it, so on my letterbox right now it's at 3 stars. After my last rewatch, that I could get bumped up to a 3.5 and a 4. If I could do a 3.8, I would.
Oh, that's spicy.
That's some veteran numbers right there.
I'm pretty sure it's at a 3.5 for me. If it's
Yeah.
not, it should be. Yeah, I mean, I just think it gets there in ways that other Spider-Man movies don't. But I do think it's not a flawless movie by any means. You could really CinemaSins the shit out of this one.
Yeah, I really remember the Honest trailer for this movie back in the day. Like when he did the when he uses Bing, I was like, I remember that being a bit in the Honest trailer video. Like, this movie definitely, it takes you back to that era of the movie review culture. This was a big one for at least that community. I remember a lot of
Good for
videos
them.
on this. It's
Be a part of this generation's community. Join our Discord, also linked down below.
yes.
We have a whole channel dedicated to movie opinions. It's the only channel I really participate in, but hit that link down below and, share your takes with us if you want a more direct interaction than the podcast in the comment section there. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Where are we, Amazing Spider-Man fans? Should they still make a third one? I remember there are people saying that after No Way Home. We should still make a third one.
Well, maybe we'll debate that when we reevaluate 2, and yeah. Hope you all had an amazing time. We'll see you all in the next podcast episode.